Welcome to the Stronger Than Steel podcast with your host, Austin Davidson and John Keir, talking Steelers all the time. Now, here's Austin and John.
Hello and welcome back to the Stronger Than Steel podcast. My name is John Keir, and joining me as always is my co-host, Austin Davidson.
Heyo.
Happy Saturday morning, Austin. It's about 12:30 on this lovely Saturday, and it's Pro Bowl week in the NFL. We got some NFL news to get to in a moment. Probably the quietest week of the NFL season besides the preseason, the Hall of Fame game. Not much going on. We're getting some news that we're going to cover here in a moment, Austin, but I guess it's been a few weeks since the Steelers season ended, and we're looking at the Super Bowl now. Has time helped heal any of the wounds yet?
No, it's made it worse. I look at the Pro Bowl, and it just makes me really sad that all these guys made it to the Pro Bowl. There's so much talent on this team, and they should be in the Super Bowl. They should be at least competing in it. It's just it's made it worse, to be honest, because you see all the pictures. The Steelers have the most Pro Bowlers. They only had more added when Cameron Hayward and Roosevelt Nix were added. It's just, I don't know. It's not helping me. What about for you?
I wish the Pro Bowl was played the week after the Super Bowl like it used to be, because then you wouldn't have so many replacements. And yes, there were a couple of deserving candidates in Hayward and Nix who ended up making the Pro Bowl because of that. But, that's how Tyrod Taylor becomes a Pro Bowler. It's happened. So I think it takes away from the Pro Bowl in that sense. And then beyond that, you get technically 2 teams of Pro Bowlers that aren't playing, but really it's more like 4, because the people from championship weekend, the teams from championship weekend that still lose often don't send a lot of their Pro Bowlers as well because they're recovering from last week's game. As far as other NFL news at this time of the year, we've got some sad news out of Buffalo. This has been some pretty big news for my internship at Spectrum News out in Rochester, because it's linked with Buffalo, and obviously it's going to be a tough time for the Bills to move forward with this. But Bills center Eric Wood just finished his 9th year in the NFL, is being forced to retire due to a neck injury. After he met with doctors during his physical, he determined that he will never be cleared to play, even with surgery and rehabilitation to his neck. An Iron Man, if you will, certainly one of the NFL's tough guys, a guy who really held up his position well in Buffalo and played through some tough years and got rewarded along with Kyle Williams as being 2 of the bigger key pieces on the team this year, finally making the playoffs. But sadly, his career is over after being drafted in the first round of the 2009 draft. So just wanted to acknowledge his career quickly. And, it's really tough to see players go through something like this. And, we wish him the very best in retirement, Austin.
Yeah, I wish him the best. It sucks that he's forced to. He wasn't ready. He didn't want to, but doctors said he will never be cleared to play. So it sucks, but it is what it is. He had a good career.
Certainly the better option as opposed to potentially risking his life or further damage to his body by continuing to play. So it's the sad reality of being an NFL player, or playing football in general. But he did enjoy a successful career, and one that Bills fans will look back on favorably. Some not so good news as well, but for different reasons, coming out of Ravens camp. Their rookie cornerback Marlon Humphrey from Alabama was just about 2 weeks ago, was arrested on suspicion of stealing a $15 charger by the Alabama police. No word at this point if there will be discipline from the team or league. I'm sure we'll be hearing more about that throughout the offseason. I believe, I can't imagine why you would steal a charger if you're an NFL player or any type of professional athlete. There's so much to lose and so little to gain here, assuming this is true, of course.
Just what an idiot. Honestly, what an idiot. I don't know what he was thinking. I don't know why he would think it's a good idea to try and steal a charger when you're making over $100,000 as a rookie. it's just stupid. He's going to end up losing a full. At least I think he's going to get suspended. I think he's going to get suspended a game because he's going to lose a full game check, and that's going to be way more than $15. It's going to be a lot of money that he's losing out on, and for what? There is no reason for it. It's just there's no words to describe this. It's just really pure stupidity.
Yeah, just another example, giving other generations the fuel and the ammunition to go after millennials, if you will, for not thinking beyond their phone battery. But in any case, it's not a good day for Marlon Humphrey of the Ravens. Elsewhere, New Orleans Saints head coach Sean Payton has stated regarding Drew Brees playing in 2018, quote, "He's coming back." Drew Brees just turned 39 years old. How much longer does he have left in the league, and where does he rank all time as far as quarterbacks go?
For me, he's definitely top 10. I think he's got to be. I think he might be number 10, but Drew Brees, watching him throw has been amazing. He's always been one of the best passing quarterbacks. He's been one of the most accurate ones. He's had a strong arm. And as for as long as he'll go, I think he has 2 more years left. I think this contract, whatever they offer him, is going to be a 2-year deal. And I think that's it. I think he's going to retire after that. He's, as you said, 39 years old. He's an older one. He doesn't got much time. Not many quarterbacks can play into their 40s and at a high level. So I don't think he's got much time. Personally, for what's happening, for my friend, I'm rooting for him to go to Denver. But Brees coming back to the Saints makes sense. And before, if it wasn't for my friend, I'd be really just hoping that the Saints lock him down because it would be really disrespectful. They don't just give him one more deal. The team is ready to make another championship run this year. All they need is to draft a linebacker and they're set. So why wouldn't Brees come back? I'm sure the Saints will give him a nice offer as he's a fan favorite and still really good. He's not regressed. He's in the Pro Bowl. So I think he's going to be re-signed to the Saints. I'm hoping he goes to Denver. So what do you think? How long does he have left in the league? Where does he rank at all time as far as quarterback goes? And what is happening with the deal? Is he going to stay with the Saints?
Yeah, he's staying with the Saints. There's no question about that. If this season was any indication, I actually think Brees could play as many as 5 years. I know that's a stretch, but that's the max I think he could play. He's got a great offensive line, 2 great running backs, a great weapon in Michael Thomas on the outside. The Saints are in good position, with the rising defense as well. They won't need Drew Brees to carry them on their backs like he used to. He doesn't take a lot of hits or sacks, and being able to rely on a good ground game is going to help him. I think Drew Brees is in a good position to contend for another Super Bowl for the final few years of his career, however long that may be. As far as where he ranks right now, I think he's just outside of the top 10 quarterbacks. I just can't put him in the top 5. He's right around borderline number 10, just like he was for you, Austin. The one thing that's holding him back, though, and I have to imagine this is the same thing for you, is the fact that he only has 1 Super Bowl championship. He has all the passing records and statistics that you would want, but one more championship will put a bow on what's been a Hall of Fame-worthy career. Elsewhere, WWE founder and chairman Vince McMahon announced his intentions to create another professional football league. McMahon co-founded and owned the XFL with NBC in 2001 for what was its only season. Despite having great ratings at the start of the season, better than what was originally anticipated, the XFL's ratings fell off and the league folded after just 1 season. What do you think about the formation of another professional league, which would begin play in 2020, which is once more going to be called the XFL?
I'm honestly rooting for it, and this was the year to try and start it with a bunch. Since there's a bunch of people mad at the NFL for several reasons, more than in most years, I feel like. I'm going to pick a team in 2020. Probably pick one with the Steelers on it if possible. If that's not possible, I'll probably either pick the New York team if there is one, which I was told there won't be. And then if that's not the case, I'll probably pick by colors. I'll probably try and pick a Steelers black and yellow and we'll see what happens. But I'm going to try and get into it when they start. History is not on its side, though, and it will probably fail again. I wish it luck, though, and I will support it until it fails, but hopefully it doesn't. What do you think?
Well, as you just said, Austin, history is not on the side of the XFL. First of all, former leagues like the USFL and the first rendition of this league did not last very long. The XFL may get some interesting names, which I know have already been some ground rules laid out, so these guys might not necessarily be allowed. But a player like Johnny Manziel will be helpful for this league, but they're going to lack top-end talent. There's no doubt about it. They're going to need to have good deals with streaming services since so many people aren't just watching television for their games anymore. So McMahon is going to have to be a little bit creative here. And I think he has learned from the failure of the XFL last time. So the optics are looking a little bit better than they did at the start of the XFL in 2001. But again, I don't see this being a hot ticket item for very long. We'll see exactly how McMahon is going to help this league persevere. But I fear it ultimately is going to run the risk of folding early on. But what I hope happens is that the NFL comes to the decision to buy out the XFL, and they decide to make the XFL the NFL's minor league. I've loved the idea of having a minor league for the NFL for years. I think it'd be really great to see some other guys get a chance to play. Put these teams in smaller markets and have your 6th and 7th round draft picks, guys who are project players and superstars in college that might not necessarily translate to the pro game, be able to have, an extended career in a different football league where maybe they can turn it around. I think it would be great for the NFL, and I know it might not happen and it probably won't, but I think that's my ideal scenario if the XFL fails. All right, Austin, so let's get into it. AFC Championship and NFC Championship games were played last Sunday. I don't know if I mentioned it's season 2, episode 70. We're already 70 episodes in to this second season of our podcast, and let's jump right into the AFC game. The New England Patriots advance to the Super Bowl for the second straight year and the third time out of the last 4 years by defeating the Jacksonville Jaguars 24-20 at home. How did your X Factors turn out for this game?
My X Factor for the Jaguars was Leonard Fournette, and he didn't do enough to carry the Jaguars to victory, averaging just above 3 yards a carry on his 24 attempts, and only getting 2 receptions for 13 yards. Excuse me. He did get a touchdown, but it wasn't enough. For the Patriots, I chose Chris Hogan, and Chris Hogan was a non-factor. I should have went with Amendola, but everything always looks clear in retrospect, so there's that. How did your X Factors turn out?
My X Factors were James White, the running back for the Patriots, and linebacker Telvin Smith of the Jaguars, 2 guys who are going to be facing off against each other all game long. White didn't light up the stat sheet, combining for just 26 total yards. 23 of them came through the air, so that means he had 4 yards on the ground, but he did make his touches count. He scored the Patriots' first touchdown of the day right before the half, and it pulled them back into the game after they had been dominated for the most part in the first half. For the Jaguars, Telvin Smith, he was the main guy tasked with stopping the Patriots running back, including James White. Smith was active all day long, and he led the Jaguars with 8 solo tackles and had 2 passes defensed, one of which I'm sure you might remember if you saw it, but it was when he absolutely leveled Rex Burkhead in the open field, which at the time sent a message about what that game was supposedly going to be about on the Jaguars side. Although he played well, his efforts were not enough in the end. As far as your bold predictions and final score goes, Austin, I missed the mark on 2 since I had Malcolm Butler and Telvin Smith both recording pick sixes. An interception was not thrown in this game. The only turnover in this game was actually forced on a great athletic effort from Myles Jack. Blake Bortles was close to my prediction of 300 yards on 40 passing attempts, falling just 7 yards short and 4 attempts short. And another one I was fairly close on was Danny Amendola, who had a big day, but not as big as I had anticipated. I hit the mark with 2 touchdowns, but I had predicted 12 catches for 150 yards when he finished with 7 for 84. I had the Patriots winning this one 27-17, and I was 3 points off on both sides for 6 in total, so I was fairly close there, Austin.
I feel like I did awful in this, to be honest with you. Comparatively to yours, I look really bad. Rob Gronkowski left with a concussion, and his stat line finished at 1 catch for 21 yards. Then the Jaguars only had 3 sacks and 7 quarterback hits compared to my 6 sacks and 10 quarterback hits that I guessed. And finally, the Patriots got a sack, 3 actually, as well as 8 quarterback hits. So I was off there as well. For the score, I favored the Patriots a little too much, and the Jaguars gave them a much closer game than I thought. So there's that. So do you want to hop straight into the recap? Tell us what you saw in this game.
Well, this game started about as well as it could have for the Jaguars after the Patriots' opening drive, which, yes, was an opening field goal, but most of the rest of the first half was controlled by the Jaguars. Effective running from Leonard Fournette and key third down conversions on short passes from Blake Bortles led to back-to-back touchdown drives in the second quarter. But things all went downhill on a 3rd and 7 from the Patriots' 44 with time winding down in the first half. Despite converting what appeared to be a good pass to Mercedes Lewis, the play was nullified because of a delay of game penalty, and on the next play, Blake Bortles took a sack. With new life and a couple of penalties to aid them on their way to the end zone, the Patriots scored a key touchdown to make it 14-10 just before the half. The Jaguars then controversially decided to take a knee and end the first half with 52 seconds left on the clock and 2 timeouts. At the time, I agreed with their decision, so I suppose hindsight is 20/20 here, but at the time, but now, looking back on it, the Jaguars appeared to have missed a great opportunity to tack on at least 3 more points, and that would have been enormous heading into halftime. It could have given the Jaguars a 20-10 lead, and in the 4 drives following the Jaguars' final field goal, which came in the third quarter, I believe it was the third quarter. No, it came early on in the fourth quarter. In the Jaguars' final drives, they had just 62 yards on 4 drives, and 32 of them came in the final drive. The Patriots' defense flat out shut them down, and the Jaguars could not make a play. As a result, the Jaguars' defense eventually tired out facing Tom Brady over and over again, and eventually Brady figured them out and was able to dice them up. You know, it was a painful loss for the Jaguars, but it was just another example of how missed opportunities and not being able to play 60 minutes against the Patriots is going to cost you. The Jaguars were the better team for the better part of 3 quarters of this game, but they couldn't finish the job and ended up just 4 points short. Another missed opportunity to slay the dragon in the New England Patriots, but again, it's another testament to their greatness, Austin. What did you think about this game?
I really got to commend the Jaguars. I really thought the Steelers played down to their opponent the week prior, which, I mean, they still did, since I still hold that the Steelers are the most talented team in the NFL. But I thought the Jaguars wouldn't survive the Patriots. I thought it would be easy for the Patriots to wipe the floor with them, but the Jaguars were better than I thought. They started the game with a 14-3 lead. I thought they might have actually won, as Blake Bortles wasn't making mistakes. Their defense was doing great. Gronk was out of the game. And the running game was okay, but unfortunately the defense wasn't able to hold Brady the whole game and got gassed at the end just like they did last week. I mean, the week prior, not last week now. Not just that, though. The entire end of the year for the Patriots has been characterized by the referees helping them out. Whether you believe that the Patriots are in the referees' pockets or it's just pure coincidence, there's no denying calls that have noticeably gone the Patriots' way, especially in the second half of the season. The play that bugged me was the play that bugged everybody. That pass interference call on A.J. Boye against Brandon Cooks, where the ball was clearly uncatchable, and even the pass interference itself was a bit debatable, that brought the Patriots into Jaguars territory and led to the James White touchdown, which was really a game-changer for them, as the Patriots were looking to be heading into halftime being down 14-3 or even worse before that pass interference. Brady was not good for that first and absolutely awful for his standard, and I think that touchdown was really the game-changer for them. It's not even just the play, though. The Patriots got – it's not just that play. I apologize. The Patriots got 1 penalty for 10 yards in this game, just 1. And it's not like the Patriots were poised from technique, as Belichick said. On the final play for the Patriots, Telvin Smith was clearly held. It should have been a 10-yard penalty and given the Jaguars another chance when this was the play that Deion Lewis got the first down and ended the game. It was bad, and it doesn't help this entire situation when people are already saying there are people that are saying that the NFL is rigged, that it's the refs are the Patriots in the refs' pockets. It's an actual viewpoint, and it doesn't help when the refs are celebrating with the Patriots, not only after the game, but during James White's touchdown. I don't know if you saw that. As soon as I said that, I saw it on the James White touchdown. I was like, this is stupid. This is really, really stupid on everyone's part. And it's just, I understand that refs are people. They're supposed to be unbiased here, and they're supposed to, I'm not supposed to be able to tell that they're excited that someone got a touchdown or anything. They're just supposed to rule the game, and that's it. I know that they're human beings and that they're part of watching a football game, but they're supposed to do their job. There's a certain level of not maturity. Maturity isn't the word I'm looking for. It's more of
professionalism.
I can't think of a word. I'll use dedication. You're supposed to just do your job. And the refs this year have failed me. Well, this is worse than the replacement refs, in my opinion. And this is a storyline that no one's talking about. The refs this year have been absolutely awful. I had to take this second out to really rip on them because they're really making it seem like the NFL is rigged this year. They're really doing their hardest to make it more than a conspiracy theory, and just they're putting it right out there like it actually could be a possibility. And that just pisses me off because I don't believe that. But they make it believable. They're making it so believable, and I'm just so annoyed about that. But back to the game, after I went on my tirade, like I mentioned earlier, Brady wasn't good in the first half. In the second half, he came alive thanks to the help of Danny Amendola, who really played great in this game. Amendola caught 2 touchdown passes in the second half, including the tiptoe game winner, as it would turn out. But he also had that one completed. He also completed that one pass to Deion Lewis, which I found it impressive, despite it being fumbled. It was all the way across the field, sideline to sideline. So I thought that was really cool out of him. I really give this victory to Amendola. He did what I thought Chris Hogan would do and really stepped up. Also, Cooks was pretty solid this game. He drew that big controversial penalty, so good for him, right? But he really did have a decent day, having 6 catches for 100 yards. He was pretty reliable. Then the last thing I wanted to mention is that the Patriots' defense did solid here. They actually had a pass rush, and despite it being Blake Bortles, they kept Brady in it, so shout out to them. I really think that they did really well here for who they were, especially comparatively to the Steelers' pass rush being shut down last week. So I give it to the Patriots defense for having a pass rush in this game. Do you want to take it away from here?
Well, there's a big question coming for the Jacksonville Jaguars. What do they do at the quarterback position? Because they have Blake Bortles and his fifth-year option, which would be about $19 million. Do they take the fifth-year option? Do they extend him, hopefully try to get a little bit of a cheaper price tag? Or do they try to move on from him and cut him?
Well, I'm going to go based on the reports that I think I saw yesterday or maybe today. I can't remember. I was in class and scrolling through Twitter. They have expressed that they're interested in 2 guys with a clear favorite. Their number 1 is Kirk Cousins. I have personally never seen the hype, and I agree with Scott McGlowan that Kirk Cousins isn't special. He's good, but he's not a Hall of Famer. He's not worth what he wants, but that's okay for the Jaguars because they can afford it. However, I am rooting for the number 2 option, and that is Alex Smith. Smith is coming off a career year, and do I expect it to be repeated? No. But the Jaguars don't need a great quarterback to win. They need someone who isn't going to make mistakes, and Alex Smith is a definition of averageness without mistakes, apart from this past season, of course. I mean, this year he was just above average and made no mistakes. He didn't make mistakes this year. I also like his running ability behind an even better offensive line in Jacksonville. So personally, I'm rooting for him to win the job. Extending Bortles would just be way too expensive, and he also has a clause that if he gets hurt, he gets paid a huge sum. It's been a while since I saw the number, but I believe it was $19 million if he ends up getting hurt. So there's no reason to keep him, in my personal opinion. The Browns will probably sign another mediocre quarterback. What do you think of the situation?
I'm very torn, Austin. I think the one thing that's not going to happen is he's not going to get a long-term extension. Beyond that, I don't really know what's going to happen because there's only so few good quarterbacks in the NFL. And the fact of the matter is Blake Bortles had a really nice bounce-back season based on his standards from last year. And he had a full season with offensive coordinator Nathaniel Hackett, which he hadn't had a full season with a coordinator, I believe, since his rookie year. He was also missing former Pro Bowl wide receiver Allen Robinson, who wasn't there for pretty much the entire season. He was up and down. He made some really great plays in the playoffs this year. I would seriously consider giving him his fifth-year option. I know that's a lot of money, but oftentimes trading for another quarterback or signing one out of free agency, and I'm talking specifically about signing Kirk Cousins, who I don't think is that special. I think he's closer to Ryan Fitzpatrick than he is Matt Ryan, just to name two players right off the bat. I think Blake Bortles is a guy that he knows the system and he makes more sense than someone like Kirk Cousins. I don't get the Eli Manning to Jacksonville, people clamoring for that. Manning is starting to look a lot like his brother Peyton did, where things just kind of fall off for him. I don't know how much longer he has left. Alex Smith is the one that probably makes the most sense, but at the same point, Smith has been successful in Kansas City. I feel like he has maybe one more year left there. I don't know. I don't know. That's the one thing I could see happening, but I think what makes the most sense is keeping Bortles for the fifth year and draft a quarterback somewhere in the second to fourth round and see if he can replace Bortles next year if Bortles turns out to be a guy that wasn't that great. So, I don't know. This is an interesting decision. In fact, Bortles playing as well as he did the last few weeks really made the Jaguars' decision a lot harder than it needed to be. So we'll see how that turns out. One thing that was very ugly about, or very interesting about the NFC Championship game was how ugly it actually turned out to be. The Eagles coast to a 38-7 victory over the Minnesota Vikings. The Stephon Diggs Minnesota Miracle, unfortunately for the Vikings, will not lead to a Super Bowl championship this year. Instead, it's the Eagles competing for the Super Bowl on the NFC side. How did your X Factors turn out in this one?
I did poorly. And Anthony Barr was trash, and Andrade did decently. That's really about it. Neither of my X Factors turned out to be, X Factors. I didn't do well for this game at all for anything. How did your X Factors turn out?
Well, really, all of the players on the Vikings really don't deserve to be X Factors. I guess if there was one, it would be Kyle Rudolph, because he caught the Vikings' only touchdown pass of the day, but that's just that. He caught one pass for 25 yards in this game. It looked like it was going to be all Vikings at that point, but there was just nothing else from the Vikings beyond that. Ronald Darby, who is my Eagles X Factor, had a pretty good day, finishing with 7 total tackles, 5 in solo, and a whopping 3 passes defensed. That must be a heroic effort indeed, because that's one more than Mike Mitchell had all season. So, yay. Steelers secondary.
Mike Mitchell's going to... Oh, I'm sorry. Mike Mitchell's going to be the Sammy Coates of this year, isn't he? Where every episode just somehow gets into... Oh, fuck. Oh, my God. Screw Mike Mitchell.
He's so bad. I'd rather have Sammy Coates than Mike Mitchell.
Oh, wow. Those are some shots. Those are some big words.
He might be he might be the worst safety in the NFL. That's how bad I think he is.
Damn. That's messed up. But how about your bold predictions, and how was your final score? How did it turn out comparatively?
Well, you want to talk about missing the mark, Austin? You need to look no further than what I thought was going to happen. Not only did the Vikings fall 66 yards short of the 400 mark I had set for them, they also turned the ball over 3 times when I said they wouldn't even have one. Nick Foles threw for 152 more yards than I thought he was going to have, and after my prediction of 2 interceptions, he had 0. The Vikings had just 1 sack, which was 3 short of my expectations, and the 1 sack didn't come from Everson Griffin. Fletcher Cox didn't have a sack or a tackle for loss, which is something I actually thought I was going to be closer to the mark on. And I was way off on the final score here. I had the Vikings winning 24-16 in a fairly low-scoring game, but obviously the Eagles just absolutely blew them out. What about your bold predictions, Austin?
Well, the only one I got close to was saying that Nick Foles would do surprisingly well and throw for 3 touchdowns, which he did both of those things. But the thing I got wrong was that I thought he would throw an interception. But the Vikings defense didn't show up at all. Anyhow, the score was completely wrong for me. I don't think anyone expected the Vikings to get blown out outside of Philly. Case Keenum was not good in this one, so he didn't get the 4 touchdowns and no interceptions. Harrison Smith did not lead his team in tackles, have any tackles for a loss, and no interception. And then Malcolm Jenkins did not get a fumble 6. I didn't do good on my anything here, like I said in the first part. But going into the game, it really seemed like the Vikings might have just run away with it, didn't it, in the first part of it? What did you think of this game?
Well, about 6 minutes into this game, Austin, it looked like the Vikings were going to roll by what the final score appeared to be, or what the final score ended up being. It looked like the Vikings were on their way to host the Super Bowl for the first time. Going 9 plays for 75 yards for the opening score, they forced a 3-and-out from Nick Foles and the Eagles offense, but then something happened. On a 3rd and 8, Chris Long got around the right side of the Vikings offensive line, disrupted a pass from Case Keenum that fell into the arms of Patrick Robinson, and he sprinted into the end zone to tie the game, and the crowd went wild. And from that moment on, it was all about Philadelphia. They scored another touchdown on their following drive, and with a chance to tie the game on the ensuing drive, Derek Barnett forced a Case Keenum fumble at the Eagles' 25-yard line, and the Eagles turned that into a touchdown as well, making it 21-7. They added another field goal before the half, and they ended any chance of a comeback by going 75 yards on 8 plays, including a great 41-yard touchdown pass to Torrey Smith, and at 31-7, the game was effectively over. Austin, I can't say I saw this one coming. I expected a low-scoring game, and you would have had a hard time convincing me that the Eagles were going to score more than 20 points. The pick 6 by Patrick Robinson definitely got the crowd back into the game, and it energized the team for sure. The Vikings, on the other hand, were stunned by the play and went 3-and-out on their next 2 drives and could just never get in a rhythm after that. While the Eagles added another touchdown, Fletcher Cox and the Eagles' defense overwhelmed the Vikings' offensive line, and I think the most surprising part about this game was the way Nick Foles played. He eventually found a nice rhythm with a steady rushing attack from Jay Ajayi and LeGarrette Blount, throwing for over 350 yards, and he was just making throws that, it made you think about 2013 Nick Foles and that 7-touchdown game. That, where everything is working, that's what this game was all about for Nick Foles and the Eagles offense. So that's really all there is to it. It was just domination by one team. Hello?
Hello? I think I lost you for a second. It was really quiet for a second.
It's all you. Take it away.
Oh, sorry. Well, the Vikings defense failed really badly. 1 sack and 4 tackles for loss isn't going to cut it. They forced no turnovers whatsoever, which honestly wasn't surprising to me since they were a lockdown defense rather than a turnover machine like Jacksonville. But neither kind of defense showed up. They let Nick Foles have their way with them. He threw for over 350 yards, as you said, and 3 touchdowns. How does that even happen for what was statistically the best defense in the league? They just gave up big play after big play. 2 touchdowns were over 40 yards. That's horrible. And honestly, I could have imagined this happening to the Jaguars. This is what I would have expected in the other game, because the Jaguars were the Jaguars and Steelers, I should say, were the teams that gave up big plays, big chunk plays. And I would have never expected, you told me that one of the teams over the weekend gave up 2 40-yard-plus touchdowns. I would have not guessed the Vikings. They would have literally been my last guess. They really blew it. But I guess I can't put it all on the defense. I just expected more out of them, which makes it more disappointing for me, since they were statistically, again, the best in the league. Keenum did blow it, too. That pick 6 early on gave the Eagles all the momentum when it only looked like the Vikings show at the time. After the first drive, he crumbled like a cookie, and there was no turning back. And I honestly give the Eagles and Nick Foles credit. Everything was against them, and they all performed at a high level to defeat who I thought was going to be the Super Bowl contender for the NFC. Honestly, I don't really have much else to say other than this game still shocks me right now. I can't believe that, first of all, the Eagles won, and then secondly, they didn't just win, they blew the Vikings out on national television. It was the least likely, and I'm honestly still sort of mad about it, because I still think the Vikings had the best chance against the Patriots. I don't think we mentioned it so far, but literally me and John's worst Super Bowl outcome that we mentioned in our last podcast was Patriots versus Eagles. And what did we get? We got Patriots versus Eagles, which we both agreed would have been the worst Super Bowl outcome. But anyhow, the Vikings have an interesting offseason coming up. They have 3 capable quarterbacks, it looks like. Keenum, Bradford, and Bridgewater. What do you think is going to happen in this offseason with the quarterbacks?
Really quickly, Austin, I wanted to circle back to that game. You know, the Vikings had a long of 10 rushing yards on a single play. They had, that means if you take that away, they had 17 carries for just 60 yards. They really couldn't get anything going on the ground. I mean, I keep thinking about it, what was more surprising, the way the Eagles actually won the game, the fact that they won by 31 points, or the fact that they played that well after going down 7-0. I think them winning this way is almost even more impressive because of how they went down, as opposed to had they just opened up, 38-0 and then just gave up a garbage touchdown.
That is very impressive. They didn't usually that's a momentum killer to immediately go down and you have to fight back, but they just came back firing and never looked back. You're right. It is a pretty impressive turnaround and win for them in that regard.
In any case, as far as the 3 quarterback situation goes, let's look at each guy individually. So all 3 of these guys have baggage attached to them. First, you have the incumbent starter, Case Keenum. I'd have to imagine he's the most likely extension candidate. Keenum has been a capable backup in the NFL in the past and has earned himself a nice contract as a starting quarterback this upcoming year. But that being the case, Keenum has never showed great promise until this season, and the Vikings are going to be taking a risk that last year was just a flash in the pan. And obviously, in the biggest game of the year, he came up short. The next quarterback, Sam Bradford, I have to think he's going to get let go here. He just cannot stay healthy no matter where he plays. And it's a shame because in his only start this year, we saw what Bradford can do when he's healthy and at his best. But with the likelihood of injury occurring again, I have to imagine he's going to be let go. The really interesting choice here is going to come with what the Vikings do with Teddy Bridgewater, a former first-round pick who played well but not great in his first 2 seasons in 2014 and 15. He was lost for all of last year and most of this season as well. He returned late in the year and only threw 2 passes. Bridgewater hasn't proven yet that he can return to his previous form, but if he can, is he a better option than Case Keenum now that Bridgewater would actually have weapons on the outside, which he never had previously? I have to think Bridgewater is going to get a 1-year kind of tryout deal almost, and I have to think Keenum is going to get an extension. I don't know if it's going to be very long from the Vikings, so it's possible he leaves, but I think the Vikings are going to want to re-sign him because he's an important player to have depending on if Bridgewater pans out. How do you see this breaking out?
Honestly, it's so very hard, but I love Bridgewater, so I'm a little biased. I'm going to say they keep Bridgewater and Keenum and have a quarterback competition in the offseason, with Keenum being the guy, at least at first. I think they will let go of Bradford, as I can't see him staying. He's the least interesting one to me with his injury history and him being very inconsistent. I just think that Keenum has been used to being a backup, and if he lost a job, he would be humble about it. And Teddy Two Gloves, I know, is just a humble guy and could take it. He was, even when he was recovering, there are stories about how he was hyping up his teammates and just excited to be around everyone and excited to be back. So I like those two going forward in a competition where I think Bridgewater could still be that guy to take over. I am going to say that Keenum is the favorite, but I think I'm hoping for Bridgewater to have a chance because I liked Bridgewater coming out of college. I thought he was my favorite out of the class. A lot of people liked Bortles. I think Bridgewater has still got potential to be a really good quarterback, so I'm holding hope for him personally.
Alrighty. That'll wrap up our recap of the AFC and NFC Championship game. We'll get to a lot more NFL offseason news soon, but obviously there's something going on in pro football right now. It's the Pro Bowl. You want to talk a little bit about what's been going on? Because I have not seen much. I saw some of the events, but I haven't paid much attention. So what's going on with the Steelers' 9 Pro Bowlers in attendance?
Well, they just did the skills challenge just Thursday. And unfortunately, I'm going to start with the bad news for the Steelers. Boswell lost the kicker tic-tac-toe, which was sad. It was head-to-head with Gano. Gano iced it. Boswell actually sailed the kick way over it and also missed one wide right. So it was unfortunate, but still, the AFC won the entire thing, I should say, so it didn't affect everything. I don't think AB was used in the best hands competition. I went to go look because I didn't watch this part of the competition. I just went back to look at the recap, and that shocked me. I don't know why he wasn't used, but okay. But Michael Thomas ended up winning with Russell Wilson throwing in the ball, which I think I've said on the podcast before. I love Michael Thomas. I loved him since he was a rookie last season. Michael Thomas is probably my, outside the Steelers, probably my favorite wide receiver in the league. I think he's just so good. I think he's just got so many assets to him. And he's such a good wide receiver. So he was deserving since AB didn't play, in my opinion. AFC won the dodgeball competition with Jarvis Landry coming in clutch against the final ball from Panthers kicker Graham Gano. They actually had Boswell participate in that. He didn't really do much, but I mean, I was still surprised they used. I think it might have been kickers were required. I don't really know the rules to professional dodgeball, but I think they might have made each team use their kicker as one of the players. But yeah, Jarvis Landry came in clutch. He was against Mike Daniels, and he was actually up against 3 when he got left down to 1. It was Mike Daniels, Ryan Kerrigan, and then Graham Gano. And he knocked the ball out of Ryan Kerrigan's hands, eliminated him, got out Mike Daniels, and catch Graham Gano's ball. So he literally clutched it out for the AFC, and it won them the entire thing because of him. Then next up, I'm going to talk about the precision passing challenge. Derek Carr, who only made it there because of backouts, was actually not that good this year. He won the precision passing challenge and set the record over the first 2 years of the skills challenge by scoring 21 points. Just 1 point over NFC Jared Goff. And then Landry was really the hero of the AFC for this, and he was clutch and won the drone drop challenge for the AFC as well, beating out Patrick Peterson. Then finally wrapping up, the NFC absolutely dominated the gridiron gauntlet and beat it in 50 seconds. There's a really good picture of Alvin Kamara jumping backwards through the final thing of it. You guys should check it out. It's only 50 seconds, so it's not going to waste too much time, but it was actually really funny. And then also, I just wanted to mention that this Pro Bowl has probably produced the best picture of Ben Roethlisberger and Antonio Brown you will ever see. It was posted on Antonio Brown's Twitter, so please go check it out. It's him saying that they're stepbrothers, and it's just Ben almost cuddling him and just hugging him. It's the best picture of the two I've ever seen. And honestly, that really wraps up the Pro Bowl for me. The only other thing I have to say is that some weird thing, when you get to the Pro Bowl, you see some weird players hanging out. One of the weirdest ones that I saw, I was watching Le'Veon Bell's Snap story, and it's guess who I'm hanging out with? I'm just expecting, I don't know, another running back from the AFC. Now, he's hanging out with Drew Brees. Why not? He's just hanging out with Drew Brees. Okay. And then also, apparently, I guess they became friends with Tyreek Hill because I got a notification on Twitter telling me that Le'Veon Bell and Roosevelt Nix followed Tyreek Hill on Twitter just 2 days ago. So they're making friends out there. They're like little kids. It's like watching them play. That's basically what the Pro Bowl is anyway. That really wraps it up for me. I really have much else to say. I prefer the Pro Bowl more for kind of the drama about it. Not that there is drama. I like that to see these players in their natural environment like it is like a TV drama. I like seeing them just not being so serious, just messing around, being normal dudes and just messing around. I don't know about you, but that's how I feel about it. Do you have anything to add? I
saw they were also, a couple of them were also hanging out with Michael Bennett too.
I don't like that.
I don't either. But that's just me. I don't know what he's like outside of what we see in the news. But in any case, are you going to be watching the game?
Probably not. But I will be looking at the scoreboard. I'll try and keep up with highlights and such because I do want to see when all the Steelers offense is on the field at the same time because it's basically going to be the entire Steelers offense with Pouncey, Villanueva, David DeCastro, Ben Roethlisberger, Nix, Bell, and Brown. That's almost the entire offense. With it's going to be on the field at some point for the Steelers. It's missing a few pieces.
Yeah, I will not be watching it. There are lots of various paint drying locations around Brockport I have to see, so I will not be interested in this game whatsoever. The only reason I have watched any Pro Bowl highlights in the past 8 years has been because Alex Mack scored a touchdown at the end of one of those Pro Bowls, and I just want to know who the MVP is to see if it's a Steeler, because I believe they get a free vehicle, if I'm not mistaken.
I think so, too. And to be fair, you know what I am looking out for? I forgot to mention this. Le'Veon Bell has been pitching to play safety, and I really want to see him do it. And then also funny like that, Russell Okung pulled over Mike Tomlin today on Twitter. You guys can check this out on the Chargers Twitter account. He pulled Mike Tomlin over and was like, hey, I want one snap. Can you guess what position?
Oh, me?
Yeah.
Oh, I know it was defensive back. I don't remember if it was corner or safety. I'll guess corner.
Okay, you already knew. But, yeah, he wanted a one snap at cornerback. Russell Okung, the Chargers left tackle, wanted to play one snap at cornerback. And I'm really hoping that happens. I feel like the Pro Bowl lets you do that stupid kind of stuff, and I want to see that. The Le'Veon Bell safety thing, I don't literally want Le'Veon Bell to be a safety. But I do actually genuinely want to see that. I genuinely want to see how Bell would perform as a safety, as he's got really nice hands. I can't imagine him being that great in coverage, but I feel like he could force an interception if he plays at safety. I don't know that I think you said the same thing.
Yeah. Please check the link I just posted. I wanted you to see the Alex Mack touchdown I was referring to 7 years ago.
Wow, I didn't realize he was in the league this long. I guess I forgot how long Alex Mack's been in this league.
I think he's been in a year longer than Marquise Pouncey.
Yeah.
In any case, some Steelers news to get to. Marquise Pouncey, talking about Ben Roethlisberger today, says that Roethlisberger told the offensive line he wants to play out his contract in, roughly 3 years. So if he's going to finish his career with the Steelers, they would need to extend him for another season. So it's looking like Roethlisberger definitely intends to play out his contract like I predicted, and beyond that, maybe adds an additional year, and who knows, maybe a year after that, just like I was thinking. But in any case, it looks like Roethlisberger still has a few more years left in Pittsburgh, so that should impact at least the way we view the draft, and I'm sure the Steelers already had an idea of this. So it looks like drafting the quarterback of the future will not be something the Steelers need to worry about for another year or two. So that is really good news, and it means the Steelers can focus on trying to fix that defense of theirs. But defense can take it easy this week because, as I'm sure you just saw, Alex Mack diced it up there. Or he didn't really dice it up per se. He did catch a lateral that was not intended for him.
It was really funny. I actually had to hold back laughing because, at the end, his ass crack is hanging out as well. It's just everything about it is really funny, and all the congratulations and stuff. Something else that stuck out to me in that clip: the first guy to greet him was Dwayne Bowe, and that's just wow. That's really. I don't know. I don't really remember Dwayne Bowe ever being that good. And it's just, as of recently, definitely not.
You want to know what else is a wow moment? Who was the quarterback of that on that play?
I wasn't paying attention enough. I don't know.
He was also on the Chiefs. Do you know who it is? It's not Alex Smith.
Chase Daniels?
No. Oh, my gosh, no. No, he would never make a Pro Bowl.
I don't know who for the Chiefs would make it. I'm confused.
Matt Castle.
Matt Castle?
Yep.
Oh, my God. That's so bad. Oh, no.
Now, to be fair, that year he had 27 touchdowns and 7 interceptions. But, yeah.
Oh, that's crazy to think about. It's crazy how players just decline. And just, you look back and how are these guys ever good?
I forgot the NFL went to like a draft system for a couple of years, and the games were actually kind of competitive.
See, I don't know why they switched back. I really like the draft style. It really appealed to me. I was like, wow, I really wish I could do that. Like, you get to see real fantasy teams, like, in real life. Like, that would be so cool. I was a fan of them. I guess the general public was not. I think the general public's just not a fan of the Pro Bowl, but I guess that's a debate for another day.
The fans, or not the fans, the games seem to be a lot, they seem to play them tougher. Maybe the owners were like, nah, it's kind of scary, you know? I get that,
Maybe.
But it seemed like we were getting actual, more realistic competition. I'm watching highlights from the 2015 one, and I'm seeing J.J. Watt actually really get after Matthew Stafford here right now. Pushing and shoving in the secondary, yeah, you won't see that on Sunday. I don't know. It was a novel idea, but I really do think the Pro Bowl is it's poop. It's done. It's so bad. It's a waste of time. That's why I won't watch it.
Yeah, they need to redo it so that they just need to make it really the skills challenges. They could scrap it completely, really. And honestly, I don't think anyone would really miss it. I like it just for, like I said, the stories and like seeing all the players hang out together, because you don't really think of that. I forgot to mention this. I got to see, the first thing I got to see in the week was Ben Roethlsiberger hanging out with Eric Weddle. I was like, that just seemed like an odd pair. They were golfing together in the beginning of the week just by themselves. The Ravens safety, the old Charger, and him were just playing golf together. I don't know. There's something about that that's just like the normal people part of like football players. I like seeing that. I don't know.
Yeah, if they want the Pro Bowl to survive, they better go back to the drafting, because obviously back in the day they would play really hard because the money meant a lot more back then. But now it doesn't matter, so have a reason to play for. So you play for the guy that owns the team you drafted, so like Michael Irvin, Chris Carter a few years ago. But I think they should just scrap it all together, make it about the skills competition, add the awards ceremony as a part of the game, like do it pregame or something like that. All the players can, the MVP can grab his MVP award and whatnot. I think that would make it a little bit better. Maybe make the Hall of Fame announcement then too. I don't know if that's exactly how they do it, but I think that's how they should do it. Regardless, it's a mess and it needs to change. So that's what I'm going to say, and that's what I'm going to leave it as.
I basically agree. I think that the Pro Bowl overall needs to be scrapped. I don't think it really can be saved. It's a cool idea, but it's just not interesting. I don't think anyone really likes it that much. No one says, oh, I can't wait for the Pro Bowl. It's kind of like almost like preseason, except I honestly think I'd rather watch Pro Bowl than preseason, to be honest with you.
Yeah, I get that. I disagree, though. I'd rather see players like Mike Hilton, which granted is a very unique case, but you get the point. The point is they might actually contribute where this game is meaningless.
True.
But
True. I don't know. I still think of what was his name from 2013? The Steelers wide receiver that just looked like he was going to be amazing. I think his name was
Sammy Coates.
Justin Brown?
Yeah, Justin Brown. That's right.
Yeah, and I feel like it's just, I don't know, preseason is always telling. It was telling for Mike Hilton. Mike Hilton did work out and came out looking just like he did, but it's not always telling. I don't know. I feel like, and then I get bored because I feel like the players aren't all meant for the NFL and just looks like college and
Yeah. Well, regardless, there's a lot of good and bad football played in the first 5 weeks of the season and the second to last week of the season. I just posted another link just because I wanted you to see the first play from the game last year.
I'm sorry, what? One more time?
I posted another link just because I wanted you to see the first play from last year's game, because it symbolizes everything about how the game has been the last few years. But in any case, we're going to wrap things up from the Stronger Than Steel podcast because it's early, I guess, technically. And we're running out of things to say. We'll be back with another episode recapping the Steelers season and looking back at all the things they accomplished and didn't accomplish in the 2017 season. And then we'll be back to preview Super Bowl 52 between the Philadelphia Eagles and the New England Patriots. So with that, Austin, it's time to wrap things up. Thank you so much for joining me. If you have any questions about the show, email us at strongerthansteelpodcast@gmail.com. Check out our website, strongerthansteelnfl.blogspot.com. And Austin, thanks again for joining me. And ladies and gentlemen, thank you for listening to the Stronger Than Steel podcast. Have a good night and a good morning.
Have a good night.
You have been listening to Stronger Than Steel podcast. Thank you for joining us today, and don't forget to check out our website listed in the description below.